Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new little experiment that we're trying.
Yeah.
This thing that we're hoping to do monthly going forward.
Nah, I'm only
It's
I'm only committed to one episode.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
at the very least, we'll get one episode out of the way, see how it goes. If it flops,
Yeah.
whatever.
But-
We'll look at the analytics. We'll really go into
right.
the
That's
nitty
how we base
gritty.
everything on our channel.
Yeah,
What
that's
is
right.
getting the clicks? What is
Yeah.
getting the clicks? Puss in Boots. It's coming in
Did it?
waves.
Did it? I actually
Actually,
haven't even looked.
compared to other things, it's kind of random. Like
Yeah.
the Puss in Boots, the Last Wish review, and the most recent Survivor episode, it was weird. There was almost like the same views going up at the same time. It was like
Huh.
60, 70 views.
Wow, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. But in any
Anyway.
case, Tarqaron, the podcast.
Actually, the
I don't know if
Tarqaron
it's
podcast.
the Tarqaron podcast. We're actually fulfilling what Rusty called us for a long time.
Yeah.
But yes, we don't really know exactly what the full breadth or depth or whatever you want to call it of this is going to be. It's
Johnny
just sort of
Depp.
just the Johnny depth of this show. We really just kind of want to have an extra sort of like maybe platform or way to just talk about whatever and be a little bit more free form. It doesn't necessarily have to have any like specific topics. I'm sure that will naturally come into play as we continue going along. Um,
Yeah.
but
It'll
stuff that
be-
doesn't even necessarily fit directly into a video or anything like that. And it will be monthly, so it's not going to be every week. But yeah,
Yeah, since we are a YouTube channel primarily, it's kind of a different thing. I mean, I know a lot of even huge YouTube channels still have podcasts and stuff, but it still
Yeah.
feels different to me than just having like a standalone podcast because we're primarily YouTube channel, so we do videos on a variety of stuff already. So there's not much that just like falls out of that, or we're not willing to talk about in a video. But so in that sense, the way I see it is we won't have a lot of topics because that's usually stuff that could be a separate video.
right.
But like you said, maybe some whatever comes up at the any given month. But this is the introductory episode, so we're kind of winging it. But we're gonna make it. It's gonna grow with time, and
You
we'll
know,
see how it goes.
that actually reminds me of a something that's pertinent to me recently.
Okay.
Because it's saying winging it like a DM, dungeon master in D&D. That's typically what I tend to do. So like, I run a local D&D game. We haven't played in like months, but we're actually going to be playing this coming weekend. But
Yeah.
there's been a lot of controversy. I don't know if you've heard about any of this with Wizards of the Coast recently. I don't know how much you know about any of this stuff.
No idea. What is Wizards of the Coast?
What is Wizards of the Coast is a company by Hasbro. They make games like Magic: The Gathering. They own Dungeons and Dragons, and I think a couple other things
Heard
in
of
there too. You've heard of them. You've heard of this wizard, one of the wizards. I know one of the wizards, says Zach. But they've recently gotten into a lot of hot water because they were updating, without going into too much extraneous detail. There's this thing known as the Open Game License, which is more or less a way for Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to kind of say, hey, this is our rule set. It's open. Anyone can use it. And anyone is free to open to use it. There's multiple means of which you can do so. You can you can publish games or like publish supplemental material that's not necessarily covered by it. Just as long as you don't necessarily go and mention like Dungeons and Dragons or any of the owned products by Wizard, you can basically use the formats and the sort of vague outlines of the rulings and all that sort of thing to make supplementary material. So third-party publishers can use this to make game materials for like tools, basically for DMs. So but they've gotten to a hot. That's kind of just a very surface level kind of assessment of sort of what it is. There's been tons of videos. People, if you want to know more about it, I would just recommend searching on YouTube. There's people that are far more educated on it than I am. The thing that's really bad about it is that they're planning on updating this open game license, and there was like a leak that came out, and they were going to be changing a lot of stuff about it, uh, because there's some reports that came out that Wizards of the Coast was looking at trying to figure out new ways to monetize D&D. Yeah, so basically things like some of the things that came out in the leak were like charging third party developers to, if they make a certain amount of money on the materials, they have to pay Wizards of the Coast a certain amount of money back as like a kickback to them, which they didn't have to do before because it was an open game license. All kinds of stuff like that. It's like restricting a lot of basically restricting creativity, which is completely at odds, completely against the whole principle and purpose of the game. And it was really like a lot of it was coming across as just ways that we can make more money, ways that we can suck more money out of the players of the game, rather than like the way they couched it, or the way at least the drafts of which we get leaks of was couching it in like, this is for you, and it's like, no, it's not. So anyway, there's like, they walked back a bunch of stuff, they announced like some new changes, and like, this is the new draft of what we're doing, and it's kind of a mess right now. The whole tabletop RPG community, like around 5th edition, is very much in shambles. People don't know who to trust anymore, other than other than them. I would just say specifically them. They don't know who necessarily in the company, like what voices are like, kind of being parroted or puppeted for, kind of thing. So a lot of other third-party developers, so people behind things like Pathfinder, which is a big competitor to Dungeons and Dragons, have like come out and been like, hey, we're establishing our own open game license. So boom, people can use our supplemental materials, where they're free to use all this stuff. So there's like other companies coming out that are like taking a stand basically against this sort of thing. So there's been a lot of drama in tabletop role playing, which has been kind of exhausting to try to keep up with. But yeah, that's kind of what that's going in.
That's a world I don't know much about. I didn't think there was even much to it. I thought it's like a tabletop game. You have it, and then you take it from there. I didn't think there would be controversy with that, but they always find a way. Huh.
No, it is when because they've released so much material for even just 5th edition. They're releasing like 3 or 4 books a year.
Okay.
So and a lot of that is like new settings, new like modules or adventure stories, classes and subclass, or not really new classes, but subclasses, and rules alterations and all that sort of thing are all sort of showing up in all the different materials that they release every year. Yeah, that's been kind of a thing that I've been having to keeping a very close eye on, because that's something that I don't really talk about very much on the show, but that's something that's actually very, very significant part of a very big hobby of mine. So
they're like patches. They're like patches to a game, but tabletop. Or is it like
not
downloadable
really
content?
Sure, you could consider it as DLC. Maybe that's probably a good
because the rule change. So when you say rule changes, that's like an optional rule change, or is it like, okay, we're actually changing this?
So for the sake of like, say, officially sanctioned like Adventure League stuff, and like officially sanctioned D&D like campaigns and stuff, they would be official rule changes. I can tell you right now that every group has their own sort of house rules, or DM fiat, you could say. So like, there are some rules as written that I don't really like, and so I play it differently with players at my table.
What's an example of a rule you don't like?
Okay, I can't really think of like a specific like rule I do not like, rule I actively dislike, or anything like that. But
you just bend the rules as
yeah,
is best for the experience.
yeah, you want to try to make the game the most fun it can be for people.
Hmm.
So I mean, even for a while, like Critical Role, they actually started before they did any of the stuff online. They were actually playing a Pathfinder campaign, um, of all things. But they when they started working with Geek and Sundry, they converted everything over to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons because I think Geek and Sundry had a deal with Wizards of the Coast or something.
Hmm.
So they converted over to 5th edition, and um, uh, everything from there has been sort of they're playing a little bit more by the rules. That being said, Matt still does it's his own world. He has his own sort of rules, um, and things. I don't know if it's still this way, but I know at least when they first started Critical Role, one of his house rules was, which I actually don't agree with at all. It was you can, as a bonus action, you can drink a health potion. It doesn't cost a full action to use a health potion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. I think it should cost a full action because you're healing yourself. But that was a thing that worked for him and his players, and that was something that they sort of he wanted them to have more fun at the table and feel like they weren't wasting the turn. He really wanted to because they enjoyed combat and things like that. And so I understand that, but that's not a rule that I would really. That's not a rule that I would favor. I guess you could say.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would rather do it rules as written. I would just say,
I mean, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons has always fascinated me. I only had very little experience with it when I was younger. I had like a couple sessions that I played with someone where I just kind of joined in. It was like a thing they already had done before, but it was new for me. We did a couple times at their house, and we did a couple times at school as part of like it was like part of the chess club, I think. It was like hidden. It was like a hidden league. It was like they would play Dungeons and Dragons. It would just disguise as chess club, that kind of thing.
I actually think that that's a really cool thing that like school groups have started to like have like Dungeons and Dragons sort of like meetings and groups and things like that. I think that's um I first heard about something like that actually with Critical Role because they sponsor a local organization that does that for like local schools, and I think that's really great. Having that stuff for maybe even some underprivileged kids, especially because like the hobby can be actually kind of expensive. Even if you're just buying books, like the books you can get decently like Amazon's always having sales for them. So if you want physical books, but if you wanted digital books, like say your group is only meeting online, okay, then that's going to cost you. Those only go on sale every so often, and then if you're meeting physically, then you maybe want to get miniatures, or maybe you want to get dice and all these other sort of accessories and things, and yeah, it can add up pretty quickly. So
I think that is cool to have it like more normalized and popularized in general, especially as the quintessential like thing that was like the nerdy thing, like playing Dungeons and Dragons in your basement. That was shunned for so long.
Right.
So it's nice to see that accepted more. And
yeah.
With that being said, do you know anything about this Dungeons and Dragons movie? Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I'm looking very much forward to it.
Is it like
it looks...
I didn't watch the trailer. Does it look actually good, or is it like just?
Yeah, I think it looks fun. I mean, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. But some of the things that I really appreciated about it was like, so if you haven't seen the trailer, you wouldn't necessarily know this, but they don't use a red dragon like the classic red dragon, this fire breathing dragon. I think they're using a it was I should know that. I should remember this. This is bad. I think they either picked acid breathing, or it could have been even ice. They picked it was a more unconventional choice to show off, like as one of the first things in the trailer. Not a red dragon, not a fire breathing dragon. A more unusual, not your everyday like what you think of dragon. It might even have been a black dragon. And I think those are acid if memory serves, or is that Green Dragon? I don't actually use dragons too often in my D&D game. At least I haven't yet. So I don't remember
Dungeons,
that.
no dragons.
Dungeons and sometimes dragons, depending on your setting. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they didn't like come right off the bat. It's like red dragon, here it is. No, they picked like an unusual, like a deeper cut to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like okay, that's a little exciting. Like Displacer Beast is also kind of an old school thing that shows up in the trailer. That's awesome. Um,
So what's
so they have some like deeper cuts of like older D&D editions, which is very cool.
okay?
Um, the movie just looks like a lot of fun. Doesn't look like it may not be like it. It had maybe a little bit of Marvel style goofiness to it,
Hmm.
but that's kind of what I wanted. So
Okay, because I was gonna ask, what is the merit of a Dungeons and Dragons movie? Because from the outside looking in, I've always seen Dungeons and Dragons is just like it's what you make of it. There's not like
mhm.
a. I didn't think it was known for having its own lore or a story in itself that could make for a plot in a movie. Because it isn't the. I thought the whole point was it would have like more or less generic things that you can make into your own. You know, it's like where all these the classical like classes and kind of elements that you come to know in different RPG things. So I'm like, what is the basis of the movie?
So I think they're the thing is because the lore is just such a big question. I mean, so the lore of D&D has like there are different settings and those settings have different like so like you have the Forgotten Realms for instance. You have Eberron and you have uh the oh shoot, there's another one that just Dragonlance. That's another setting. You've got uh, I think Red Sun, I think was the name of one of the settings. So you've got like tons of different settings. Those all have their own lore. They all more or less use the same framework, but there's some differences in there's sometimes some differences in mechanics in those.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those are a little bit more granular. Different when writing campaigns and building out the world and the setting, they added their own lore and stuff into those worlds. And
Okay.
those changed here and there across different editions. So, for example, the campaign that I'm running is called Curse of Strahd, um, and it's based on the old Ravenloft setting from I think from first or second edition. I don't remember which. Um, and Ravenloft was basically just like it was a vampire setting, but it had like all this kind of typical trappings of like traditional monster lore. So you've got like mummies and zombies and vampires and all that sort of like kind of like gothic horror kind of things that you would think of. Um, and Curse of Strahd is kind of a reimagined version of that old setting for the new edition. And they've sort of fleshed stuff out, and basically they changed the lore around and stuff to make it more adaptable and playable in a sort of a modern way. So in addition to that, at the same time as a lot of these, even in the 80s when all of this stuff was being written, you also had authors like R.A. Salvatore who were writing books for like various characters and things. So the Dritz de Erden books are um, basically he has like there's like tons of characters in the world, and a lot of them are like used. That there was like this really bad Dungeons and Dragons game that came out a couple years ago, or maybe it was like last year. I think it was 2021. It came out, and it wasn't very good. Um, but that used like one of the main characters was Dritz, and then you could play as like his party. Um, and that was like a series of books. I don't remember the name. I can't remember any of that information because I've never read them. I just know some of the names and the characters, and so there are certain like pieces of lore. There is like a
Okay.
history in different editions.
Hmm.
It's honestly it's super confusing. Um, just because stuff has changed so much over the years. Different, yeah, it can get really like a little bit overwhelming when you start to look into it. So it seems to me that they're kind of taking bits and pieces of throughout everything and just kind of making their own story based on various bits of lore throughout the history of the game. So
Okay. Interesting.
yeah.
Well, the reason I even was thinking about that is because it was kind of as this is our New Year first episode after the New Year, first episode period. Maybe it would be cool to talk about some of the things we're looking forward to in the new year.
Yeah, sure.
Like there's not like I was going through making lists. There's not a lot because sometimes you don't even know what's going to come out towards the end of the year yet. But for me personally,
Yeah.
I got a couple of things. The biggest one for me, in terms of video games, is Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, because that's like a love letter to me, my childhood growing up playing Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life on the GameCube. I love that game.
When does that come out, by the way?
That comes out in the summer, so it'll come out.
Okay.
It comes out soon in Japan, but then not until summer for everybody else, I believe is what it is. But we don't know exactly when yet. But I'm looking forward to that because I think it'll just be nice. It'll be comfy. I can still pick up the GameCube version and I don't feel like, I need the 7-year version. But it's nice. Because I've always I collect so many of the Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons games. And I still haven't played a lot of them. I have just a backlog of them collecting at this point. But that's one I have spent a lot of time playing when I was younger. It would be really nice to actually commit to that one. Because they're basically remaking it entirely. Some of the characters are like completely different. There might have been even one that was taken out. There might be like 1 or 2 different love interests added in the mix because A Wonderful Life was known for having only three bachelors, which is an unusual thing for Harvest Moon games. Usually there's a bunch of them. But it might still be around that number. But I know in this game you can play as like male, female, or gender neutral. So they got it all.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's cool. Because originally they had Another Wonderful Life was a separate game with the female character. So that's the biggest game I'm looking forward to, other than the obvious Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
That's already I'm like locking it in. It will be my game of the year. Like and just will have to convince me otherwise. To
me, it's going to be up to 2 probably. It's going to be between that and Final Fantasy 16. Those are like the 2 big things. Those are like my big franchise loves. Are pretty much those games. So. Yeah, I mean, new releases coming out this year. It's pretty exciting. And I think within fairly close to each other, I can't remember the exact release dates. I know Final Fantasy 16 is in June. I think Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom is in May. So, yeah. So, boy, that's going to be tough. It's going to be a busy summer for me, let me tell you. We have the new Destiny expansion coming out next month. Looking forward to that. Hogwarts Legacy's out next month too.
Will be interesting.
Looking real good.
So I have to. I don't know if I would play it immediately anyway, but I have to wait till I think April because I think this releasing the PS4 and Xbox One versions later, and I don't have a PS5 or Series X. So.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I might not get that. I'm probably not going to get that right at release. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. Sometimes I don't. I'm like, whatever, and then it comes out, and then I see people talking about it. And I'm like, all right, I'll jump on it. So
I feel like that would be cool one to review.
Yeah,
here's my vision. We review every Harry Potter, every Fantastic Beasts, and then Hogwarts Legacy.
That could be. I mean, that could be something we could maybe do. It would be a really big.
I thought about
it. It'd take like most of the year.
I thought about how it would be cool if we had led into that. I'm like, when does that come out? Oh, right around the corner. Don't have enough time.
Yeah. No. Not even close.
So I don't know. I feel like we could do something with that. Harry Potter would
You know,
just be a fun. I think it would be a fun series for us to do in general because it would just like.
Oh, totally.
There's such a vibe to it. It's like we will just be in the wizarding world for such a stretch of time doing these movies. We could even do a little sorting hat quiz at the end. You know,
do our official Pottermore
officially
sorting.
It's just like a personality test. You know, it's like
yeah. You've got brave, smart, cunning, or other. You know, the typical categories of kids.
Right. When I was taking that we'll have to do it again, obviously, for the video. But when I was taking that sorting hat quiz, I'm like, I don't really care about some of these options. Like, what animal do you pick? This one.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a bear. I don't know.
It's like, oh, you are definitely Hufflepuff.
Oh
okay.
Yeah, cool.
You got me. You got me.
You got
otherwise,
me.
there's not much. There's a new SpongeBob game coming out soon. Maybe I'll dabble in that, but I still haven't even finished the Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. So
yeah, I haven't played that yet. That might be fun to review too.
Which one? The new one?
Yeah, I was thinking Rehydrated. Because I haven't played that yet myself.
SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated review.
Here it is, 2023, baby.
Let's get SpongeBob and Tarqaron All Stars already. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has been too long. He hasn't really shown up. What the heck?
But also, Theatrhythm Final Bar Line is coming out.
Yes,
we really like Theatrhythm. We love rhythm games.
Love rhythm games. I don't think, despite the fact that I own the original and Curtain Call, I don't think I've ever played them. Which is really bad.
That's because you wanted to avoid spoilers or something, right? Like
it was. That's exactly why. You remembered.
They do have just straight up cutscenes of like the
and it's just I'm just like cool. It's like I was like, oh, yeah, let's do the ending of Final Fantasy X. The game Alec still doesn't know the ending of exactly.
A game I played immediately in the new year and just powered through. Taiko no Tetsujin Rhythm Festival on the Switch. I
need to pick this up.
I loved it, honestly. I was like, got right out of the gate, beat the game like so quick, because I was just like, I was staying up late into the night, just powering through these. A lot of fun, random song selection that I did not expect, like anime. What other stuff?
A classical in there, I'm sure.
Classical, game music, some like pop. There's a Blackpink song in there.
Oh.
There's a Frozen 2 song, which was like the Panic at the Disco version of Into the Unknown.
Oh, that's just okay.
And that's under anime as it belongs.
As it in Japan, that would be categorized there. Yeah. So
it's like, yeah, but even the Panic at the Disco version is even less anime. It's like that's just like a straight pop song.
It is.
Yeah, that's one I really enjoyed this year.
You know, a game I'm looking forward to that I feel it's not going to sell well. Square Enix is going to be like, all right, failed, didn't meet expectations, game's a flop, big flop.
Yeah.
And that's Forspoken, which I think is literally out later this week.
Oh, Forsaken on the PS1.
Or next week. No, Forspoken. Forspoken.
Oh.
Which I played the demo of a couple of times. I love it. I think it's awesome. And everyone hates it. And I cannot for the life... I can't figure out why, other than the one thing that I can understand why people don't like it, but to me is not even remotely close to enough to turn me off from the whole game. And that's because the protagonist is kind of snarky and sassy. And I guess you could consider it like Marvel humor, because it's a lot of like quippy dialogue between her and the magic like bracelet cuff thing that she has. Right. But the relationship that I got from it was very much like, oh shoot, there was a comparison that was made, and I was like, yes, that's exactly the sort of relationship that it's like, and that's like, all right, well, we'll skip over that. Anyways, I'm looking forward to that game, and that's coming out pretty soon, so I'm probably gonna pick that up early on. I probably am gonna to play that, spend some time with that because I've been looking forward to that game ever since it was announced. I've followed all of the like trailers and stuff for it. And I think it looks great. But some of the people not so much. Oh, I remember now. The relationship is very similar to Nier and Grimoire Weiss.
Of course.
With Grimoire Weiss in the game Nier being this very like droning sort of computerish, like sort of think like Jarvis maybe a little bit, kind of snarky a little bit, but also like technical. And then you have someone who's just like, yeah, heck, yeah, you could even have like Tony Stark and Jarvis, that kind of a dynamic. They're both a little quippy with each other, snippy with each other. Jarvis is highly logical, but like then you have someone who's maybe a little bit more brazen and a little bit abrasive and maybe even a tad aggressive. And then that dynamic playing off each other, where like the cuff will be like, "Oh, this thing," and then Freya will just be like, "Did I ask you? Damn it!" And it was like, "Oh,
yeah."
You know, it's like okay, so that like stuff like that's turned people off. I get it. That doesn't ruin the whole game. The game looks beautiful. The game feels awesome to play. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
You know, for video games in general this year, I'm excited that E3's back. I just want it. I just want to go back again. Even though like we haven't had stellar E3s like last year's, like there wasn't like so much killer, but it's just a fun time, and I think I'll look forward to talking about it on the channel too.
I have to take some time off. Do you want to try to take some time off work to
just to process everything,
watch some
the
of
aftermath.
Yeah. The aftermath, the afterglow of E3.
The trauma that it puts you through.
The trauma. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of games, there's not much more that I'm looking forward to, but I'm excited to see what surprises come out.
That's a pretty front-loaded year for me. Oh, Resident Evil 4 remake also coming out. That's all in the first half of the year, though. Yeah. Everything that I've mentioned is first half of the year. I have no idea what's going on after.
I think a lot of it's a mystery still. You know, we'll see stuff at E3 hopefully.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. There's a Final Fantasy thing that's rumored to be happening in February. There seems like people are indicating there might be a Nintendo Direct on the way within the next month or two. So. See about that as well.
Well, yeah.
Oh, did I tell you that I'm going to see Phantom of the Opera next week?
Yes.
Yes.
You did.
I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be great. It's one of the Christmas presents my parents got me this year was to go see that. That show's ending. It was supposed to be ending in March, I think, but they extended it to be like April or May, I think now, or even further. Because I guess the demand was just so high, but.
Phantom of the Opera sounds like some new thing, right? I haven't even heard of that shit.
You get out of here. Get out of here, Zach. I know you're joshing. I know you're goofing.
Well, I was gonna say actually, I remember what I was gonna say. It's a new year, and kind of, I always go into the new year, and I'm like, one of the things I want to do is experience as much new video games, movies, television, all of that as I can. And if it is a light. I never mind a Lightyear, Buzz Lightyear even.
Buzz Lightyear,
in terms of games, because then I have a mountainous backlog of even like the stellar Game of the Year caliber games from past years that I haven't even touched. Yeah. So it would be nice to fit. I'd like to fit at least one or two big ones in there. You know, maybe like The Last of Us, Death Stranding type deal, like kind of. AAA game, you know, but and the same thing goes for movies and TV shows. It's kind of light for me too, so I'd like to hit on some big ones I've been missing out on too, maybe for Tarqaron as well. But there are a couple movies I'm looking forward to. The Little Mermaid, I'm holding out hope that it's gonna be good. It'll be a good live action. Give it to me, but I'm terrified of what Flounder is gonna look like and everything else. Ursula.
King Triton. What's he gonna look
Melissa
like?
McCarthy is gonna come out. I just
Melissa
know
McCarthy's gonna.
it. I just know
that'll
it.
be a that'll be a sight to see.
We got the Super Mario Bros. Movie,
Oh, very much looking forward to that.
so we'll see. Like, will it dethrone Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is currently the king of video game movies as far as I'm concerned?
Yeah,
Uh, it could. It could.
it might. It might very well.
There's also some random stuff like a Barbie movie starring Margot Robbie. That's coming.
Directed by Greta Gerwig, I think.
And Ryan Gosling is Ken, right?
Ryan Gosling is
Yeah.
Ken. Yeah. Did you see the trailer for
I
it?
did not. I heard that actually looks
It's
good.
wild. It's wild.
It's wild.
The trailer's wild. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they do like a 2001 thing with it. 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's very strange. It's very weird. Yeah.
Well, I'm in then.
Yeah.
There is the Hunger Games prequel thing coming out too. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Snakes. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Which, like, I don't know. I feel like my interest in Hunger Games just kind of faded over time. Like, once I saw those movies, I was like, okay, I'm good. You know, I saw all of them, but I was like, I'm good for now. I don't think I need any more in my life, but the concept.
It's a
is
prequel.
solid.
It's a prequel.
But
I guess prequel.
pretty
Book,
cool.
But
No J Law in the mix, so
is she?
no J Law.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, she shouldn't be in the mix. Like, there's nothing to do with her.
The Guardians of
So.
the Galaxy Volume 3.
That's coming out.
Forward to.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
I still need to watch the first one.
You need to change that.
Yeah.
That's one of the big movies I'm looking forward to, aside from some of the ones you've mentioned.
I mean, they have the whole Marvel lineup, right? I don't even remember what this year's slate is supposed to look like.
Oh shoot!
I don't know
Yeah,
if I didn't write down most of them because I'm probably not interested in most of them. I know the Marvels is one of them. That's
the
thing.
Marvels.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy, yeah. Now that you like dropped that down, I'm like, oh yeah, right. Crap. Now I don't remember any of the Marvel slate this year.
It's kind of crazy looking at the top gross movies like each year. Like, I looked at the past few years, and it's like Marvel is just like, it's so much. Like, comic book movies, superhero movies are just like the thing now. Avengers, I mean, Infinity War first was like, it broke the record, and then Endgame broke that record. It's crazy. By the way, I feel like we talked about briefly in the past on this channel that I'm like, who cares about Avatar 2? But here we are, and it's like $2 billion in the
here it
box
is.
office. Of course, you just can't make a movie without it just breaking records or nearly breaking.
It is insane. I don't know anyone that actually still. I didn't know anyone that cared about it, and yet everyone still went and saw it. It's like that's the thing. That's the thing. I haven't seen it yet either. I'm going to go see it.
Because you want to feed the machine, yes.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm curious. I'd like to know.
That's how they get you. I know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but the thing is, like, that's so long. That runtime is so.
What did you say the budget was for that movie? That was like insane.
It needed at least $500 million to break even, I think.
Yeah, and it was like, all right.
No, I think it needed $1 billion to break even based on the production costs of this movie and the next one, which has already been filmed.
And I'm like, no way is it gonna do that good. Like, no one cares about Avatar anymore. Like,
yet,
it's been years, and yet,
somehow everyone.
And James Cameron's sitting there all smug.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, that's just what we need. Hey, I respect James Cameron very much as a filmmaker. I think he's kind of a dick. So
it was like someone asked him, like, when it was coming out, like, James Cameron's just sitting there, and they interview him about, based on the runtime in the movie, when are people supposed to take their bathroom breaks, and he's all smug, and he says they can take the break whenever, and then they'll just see what they missed the second time they go to see it in theaters.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, he's expecting people to come for return visits. Oh, well, so the Trash Taste podcast talked about this, and Connor talked about he fell asleep for about half an hour in the movie, but he woke up and he felt like he didn't miss anything, and he still recommended it, despite the fact that he was like, yeah, "It's way too long. It's too long," but it's pretty looking film. Right. I guess that's what you go for. You just go to just live in the world for a few hours.
I don't know about it.
I don't either, but we'll see. I'll go see it. I'm gonna go see it in IMAX with my friend Dan, so we'll figure it out. Neither of us were excited about it. We're both just like, hey, I guess we'll just go see an IMAX. It's like what you're supposed to do or whatever. So
I'm trying not to go see movies when it's like I don't really want to, unless it's like specifically something we're gonna review or something like that. But
to me, there's something really interesting about that. To me, I don't know, like that is kind of why I've appreciated the channel in general, actually, because it has gotten me to go see movies. I don't necessarily say I wouldn't go see, but it's motivated me to be active and go out and see movies more, which was sort of was a little bit of a bummer about last year. I mean, I'm glad that we were able to do a lot more content than just reviewing stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like after I saw Thor, whatever the last one was called, Love and Thunder, that like killed my love of movies basically, because I didn't. I almost. I mean, I didn't see a movie in theaters until what? Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I went and saw that last year, and that movie was really good.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what.
No, that's a lie. I keep forgetting it. Top Gun Maverick, which missed my top 10 list. It should have been on there. That movie was awesome. I did go see that in it came back in theaters for like a couple weekends like towards the end of the summer. So the movie's badass.
I've heard it was.
Yeah.
I've heard it was. It did crazy in the box office too.
It did. It was insane until Avatar 2 just like freaking dive bombed it out of the water.
Ooh, dive bombed it like a plane.
Way of the water. That's right.
Way of the water. That's right. In terms of TV shows, Mandalorian season 3 they just dropped the trailer for. That's something.
I didn't watch it because I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna spoil anything about it.
But I didn't see that was dropped. In general, though, like this year, I'll probably try to hunker down and catch up on a lot of the stuff I'm behind on. Like I'm behind on a lot of Marvel shows and Star Wars shows. I haven't watched.
Same, actually.
I haven't watched Book of Boba Fett. I haven't watched Andor, and Obi-Wan. I haven't watched any of them.
Yeah, I saw 2 episodes of Obi-Wan and I was bored, and so I didn't want to watch anymore. And from what I understand from basically everyone who's seen it, it's like, unfortunately, you're not really missing much. Really, what they should have done is they should have made it a movie. Because I think the biggest complaint that I hear about it is that it's too long. It's it's only 6 parts or 7, 8 parts or something. I think it's only 6.
Okay.
And everyone says it's too long. And I think, to me, if you just shortened it down, condensed it down to a movie like they were originally going to, it probably would have been way better. But
it was kind of my fault. Like we didn't really stick to we were gonna review every Marvel show, every Star Wars show. I just didn't get around to reviewing or watching one of them, and then just all right, well we're way behind now.
Well, let's see. I mean, I didn't watch Moon Knight. I didn't watch Miss Marvel. I didn't watch any of the Marvel shows last year. I didn't watch any of them. Moon Knight was the one I was the most interested in, and I didn't watch it.
I never watched Hawkeye, so that's how far I'm behind.
Oh, that's right. That was the one. I think that was the one where you're just like, I don't have any time. We can't review this one. And then from then on, that was basically it. Hawkeye's very fun.
I kind of wish we had stuck with everything Star Wars at least, because we had done every movie, and then we did Mandalorian. So I was down to keep going, but
the tricky part there is stuff like Star Wars Visions or like The Bad Batch, which is a sequel to the Clone Wars cartoon. Which I have not seen the entirety of the Clone Wars cartoon. I've seen a bit of it.
At least the live action stuff, though.
Yeah, Andor. I've heard that is great.
Yes, in spite of you.
That is great. Yeah.
All in spite of you.
Okay, right. Well.
Ahsoka is coming out this year, so.
Oh yeah, that's coming out too. Yeah.
There's going to be more and more falling behind. So I'd like to, if there's not too many shows, be able to catch up. Stranger Things season 4 I never watched, so stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I'm excited. There's like new Walking Dead spin-offs coming. I'm excited for those. There's Squid Game season 2. I would
Right.
be down to
I still
like
haven't. I
rewatch
still
it
haven't
for
seen
a
that.
review if you wanted to do that too.
I still haven't seen that. My parents have seen that. My parents watched Squid
Hmm.
Game. I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, everybody's parents have watched Squid Game.
Yeah,
That's,
it's just me. I'm not everyone's parents, obviously. So
well, I'd be down to
um,
rewatch it just for that,
yeah,
to review it. Maybe go to season 2.
yeah.
Loki season 2 is this year too, right?
Is it? I
I
guess
think
it would
so.
make sense, but yeah. Wow. Huh.
And the only other question mark that I have is Black Mirror season 6. At the earliest, it could show up as late 2023. It might end up being a next year or a year after
Mm.
thing, but I'm uh, I'm down for that because that took me by surprise because they had articles in the past where it was just a whole mess, so it seemed like it was never going to happen. But now it's like, okay, we're signed on, we're in. So now we're gonna be catching up with you basically to get there
Yeah, there it is. Boom.
because we'll end up watching season 4. We'll get through at the very least season 4 this year.
Yeah,
So
I have been watching a television show
mhm.
recently, catching up on a classic. It's a modern classic. It's one that people speak
Yes, that's
extremely
right.
highly of, and I've been loving literally every second of it.
It's Lost.
No, it's Breaking Bad.
Ah.
um, Breaking Bad has been amazing. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It's it feels like I'm watching a movie every episode. It's so good.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah,
Where are you at with it?
so in the middle of season 3, getting I think maybe I think up towards the end of I think I'm like episode 7 or 8 of season 3. I think is around where I'm at. So deep in the well, I guess maybe not deep. I guess I don't know how deep it goes. I don't know if it goes the rest of the show or what exactly, but Walter dealing a lot with Gus.
Hmm.
So that's what's been going on,
That's a good
and
season.
the two brothers or
Hmm.
the cousins, I guess, are definitely a threat. And what happened at the end of the last episode is that they Gus met with both of them, and he told them, "Don't go after Hank, or no, don't go after Walter, but I'll tell you the DE agent that I'll let you go after. And it's Hank." And it's like, oh, okay, this is getting intense. This show is already pretty intense. And it was like, okay, here we go, we're ramping up to this now. Oh boy, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one of the all-time classics that
mm,
I'd missed out on for years also, and just had to endure people just saying it over and over again. Breaking Bad
mm,
this, Breaking Bad that. So finally, you
yeah,
just gotta you rip the Band-Aid off. It's one of those things you don't even understand what you're missing out on, and it almost like it just the cycle of hearing it over and over again is almost like you become fine with it not being in your life. And then
yeah,
one day you finally sit down, you watch it, and you're like, all right, my life is better now.
yeah. Well,
The,
that's one, and then so I'm gonna do that. Um, watch Better Call Saul. I don't know if I'm gonna watch El Camino first. At the very least, the friend of mine that got me, my friend Wesley, who got me finally watching it when I went and
mm,
visited him a couple weekends ago, was like, I do want to watch El Camino with you. So I was like, okay. So he's like, and the best part about that is that you can kind of watch that sort of whenever. It is a sequel to Breaking Bad,
mm,
but because Better Call Saul, for the most, like, for at least most of it takes place before um, Breaking Bad, you can kind of just start watching that, and then we
yeah,
can watch El Camino sort of whenever we get back together. So,
I would definitely watch it
um,
after Breaking Bad though, because it's almost like directly after. But
mm,
I'm not even caught up on Better Call Saul either. I think I was in like
mm,
season 3 or season 4, and I just we were watching it through Netflix at the time, me and my family, and we had caught up
mhm.
on there. But that was like it's a whole season cycle behind. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's out now. But I just still
yeah,
haven't gotten around
it,
to watch it.
yeah. It all just recently wrapped up. I think last year. I think.
I mean, so many people talk about Better Call
Oh,
Saul as like some people are like it's even better or it's comparable.
yeah.
To me, it's never been. Breaking Bad has always been way better in my eyes, but
Mm,
I love that people appreciate it still. Breaking Bad is in like a
yeah.
class of its own for me. It's up there as one of those shows that I love. I'm happy to rewatch it with anybody. I love watching reactions to it on YouTube and stuff. You know, it's like up there with
Mm.
Lost and Death Note. Like these are my favorite. They always come back
Lost
to.
is probably going to be after I do this. I'll probably, because I want Rusty to stay my friend. I will
Mhm.
do. I gotta just watch Lost. I remember liking Lost when I watched it when I was
And you
like
just
14,
lost sight of
15,
it. That's what it
and I
is.
just lost sight of it. And we just sometimes things happen. So
I want to. There's got to be some way we can like talk about it. You know, some collaborative
yeah,
effort here. Because
yeah.
you got, I love Lost. Rusty loves Lost. You're gonna watch Lost. It's like there's
The
something
Lost
there.
newbie.
There's
There's something
something
there.
there.
Yeah.
And then The Walking Dead. You gotta get through 11 seasons of
Yeah,
that.
that's a bigger commitment.
So
Aren't the
that's a
seasons
big
of that
ask.
all? That is a big ask. Aren't the seasons of that also like 13 to 15 to 20 episodes long too? Like how
Yes.
long are those seasons? Yeah, and there's
Um,
like how many of them now?
Most of the seasons are like I think around 16 episodes or so,
Okay.
and then the last one was extended. But
Is it 12? Is it 12 seasons now or
11
13?
seasons, and it's done with
Okay.
11.
So, but at least it's not Supernatural. It's because Supernatural has 15 seasons, and those seasons are like over 20 episodes long. It's like the old school of TV right there.
Right.
It's like
I
you had a
mean, yeah.
26 episode season, 45-minute long
That's
episodes.
Lost, but just a little
Yeah,
few seasons shorter. Season
yeah.
6 seasons, but
A few seasons shorter.
yeah.
That's like over 100 hours shorter.
No,
It's like it's way shorter than Supernatural.
but yeah, yeah, definitely have to watch that. You know,
Wow.
the show I just literally right before we watched this, I watched the finale with my mom. It's The Circle, season 5, which I talk about every now and then. It's this reality show on Netflix. It's
Oh yeah,
like a
okay.
social media thing where everybody's in their own little apartment and you can only communicate through text. So some people will catfish and play as a different persons. A lot of people
Oh.
play as themselves, but then you'll like rate each other after a little bit of interaction. They'll do ratings, and then the top two usually end up blocking. They choose someone to block from the circle,
Mm.
so that's like eliminating
Hmm.
them. And they
Okay,
introduce new
okay.
players. So it's like a I've always said it's like a lighthearted version of like the kind of reality shows I like, Survivor and Big Brother. It's just you got to take it less seriously than that because it's really just like social media aspect to it. There's like hashtags and stuff. Um, but it's fun. It's fun. It's just fun time.
Interesting. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. I was gonna ask
Interesting.
you for the new year. Do you do New Year's resolutions or?
I've never really done them, because I feel like just if you specifically set in mind resolution, like New Year's resolutions,
Hmm.
you'll never do them. That's always been kind of my history with them. So like I just sort of gave up on them. I do have some goals, and I haven't really gone about implementing them. To me, like like it's more like things to work on. I feel like that's more helpful than like specifically New Year's resolutions, but it's like things that I'm
Hmm.
going to be working on. Um, One thing is going to be I want to start working out again, um, and I want to get back in shape a little bit more. Um, I know some of that just is due to being old, slower metabolism. I probably should really be quitting the soda, which I'm drinking. Um, but
Yes.
it's gonna
Water.
be hard. Water is a good one. Yeah, water's a good one.
Shit
I
for
do want to
taste
start.
though.
I do want to. Well, yeah, you flavor it a little bit with like Gatorade,
That is
but that's
not
only
water.
Gatorade's not water. But this doesn't have sugar. This is
Admittedly not water.
electrolytes, which helps me when I because when I'm working, I'm sweating a lot. Yeah, I do have to
Yeah,
get some of that
I
back
do
in
like a
me.
good Propel. I do put
Yeah,
flavor into
Propel's
my
really
water
good too.
sometimes. So,
Propel's pretty good as well. I like that.
hmm.
But no, I do want to try like get back in shape again, start like running and working out. The pro the it's awful, but like one of the things that like I always think about is like, all right, well I have to like get all my gym stuff together and I have to like drive to the gym. It's not even that far away. Um and then I have to and then I'm thinking about like all the things that I would rather be doing
Yep.
while I'm doing it. It's like I could be catching up with this game, I could be playing Destiny, I could be doing all these other things. So I need to just like get over that. I can watch shows. I can watch shows while I'm at the gym. I don't know. I can watch anime when I'm at the gym. I can just do that. I can do that
Yeah.
when I'm working out. I have playlists of I have podcasts I can catch up on. There's a bunch of podcasts that I've been wanting to listen to for a long time that I can continue. That I can listen to those. I can catch up on Critical Role while I'm doing that. I'm like pretty behind on Critical Role at the moment. So there's all kinds of things I can occupy my time with. I just need to get out of my own head and do that. So
Yeah.
that's like one goal. Another goal is actually, and this is something that I'm actually partially going to have to do before we do our next chance challenge.
Hmm.
Itemizing all of my collections,
Yes.
everything. I want to go through everything. That's all my anime figures. That's all my games. That's all my soundtracks. That one's going to be a lot harder because that's actually I still have a lot of my CDs and stuff at home. But I want to like go through all that. I want to see if I can price some of those out as well.
Hmm.
Because I know I'm sitting on a decent amount of money from what I have here. Not to brag about it, but I have a decent amount of money in my collections. And it'd be nice to know what I have. So, um, to just put things in perspective for myself, it'd be good healthy to figure out things like okay, these are things maybe I can let go of. I can sell this. I can do that sort of thing, and look towards like refining and getting more of what I want. In addition to that, I do want to actually finally, for the love of God, clean this room, the room I've lived in for 2.5 years, and also set up my retro game room downstairs, which is basically in our basement. I have I have basically everything I need for that section of the house, except for the glass cases for my anime figures that I don't have. I
Yeah.
need those detolfs. That's one thing I was going to use. I got a little extra money for staying with the company after our acquisition. Um, I was going to use some of that money towards that. That didn't end up happening. Um, for a variety of reasons. So I'm probably going to use my tax refund for a lot of that sort of stuff. So hoping for that. That's another thing. Like election stuff. I want to really get a good grasp on that. So that's like those are like two things that I really want to like try to focus more on. And the third thing is just like be more intentional about D&D. I've been pretty off the ball. I've not been very rigorous in terms of like trying to keep us continue to play. We haven't played in like 3 months. I don't even really remember. I don't think any of the players remember. We've had like 5 sessions, 6 sessions total. So like we're still pretty early on in everything, and I want to make sure that we're meeting very regularly, and that's something that I want to. It's the only thing about that is that's tough. I have to balance everything else. So finding balance is definitely going to be like it's going to be tough, but like that's something that like
Yeah.
it's a goal. I don't think it's something that I'm going to necessarily be able to do, but if it's something where I'm going to have to finally set a schedule for myself, I'm somebody that's I. It's funny because like I've never been somebody that likes setting schedules. I'm late to everything. I'm not very good at that kind of thing. It's like things will get done where they get done. I'll get there when I get there. Things will be done. I'll show up. Everything will be fine if it's a party. But I feel like setting out like days to do certain things to be like, all right, this is this day I'm going to do this and this and this might be helpful, that's kind of that's sort of like maybe the last piece of the puzzle. Uh,
Hmm.
but that's maybe more of a pipe dream than a goal. I don't know. We'll see. That's something that I've definitely been thinking about actually for a long time. It's not even just this past year, not even just the past 2 years. I thought about that for like a long time, and that might be what I need to find more balance in my life. So I don't know.
Hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, I have goals myself. I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe not necessarily New Year's resolutions, but I think kind of maybe whenever you start or go into a new year, it's kind of nice to reframe like where you're at, what you
Mm-hmm.
need to work on, and things like that. Because it's like, okay, another year we just went through it, and I haven't done these things, or it's
Yeah.
like it really helps you to look at things like that. So I'm like, I always pretty much every year say, like I said earlier, I want to experience new video games, movies, television as much as I can. I always track however many I watch or beat in a year. I've already hit the ground running this year. I've beaten 3 games. I've watched one movie and one TV season, so already got stuff on the board there. So if I can keep at it and like actually when I pick up a video game, actually stick with it, it would be nice because I've done that with the past 3 ones. So maybe I can keep it going. But that's never like, I don't need to prioritize that over anything. It's just always in the back of my mind, stuff I love experiencing new stuff. I mean, that's what this channel's about.
Yeah.
Um, but in general, I want to be healthier because I definitely have gained a lot of weight. If you just look at like prior years on this channel, you can see that.
You can see that for me too. I was just like that's the
And
past
you
few
can
years. I
go
was like,
even more
yeah.
years back on my channel and see that even more so. Like I thought I was a little overweight then, but now I'm like it's getting too much.
If you
So
see me when I was in college, man, I was a string bean.
so it's like everybody when they do New Year's resolutions says like some sort of form of weight loss or exercise or whatever. They don't really stick to it. So I'm not really gonna. I don't have a specific in mind. Like I need to lose this much weight or do this or that. But I want to just be healthier in general. I think that's a good mentality to have. I want to be able to look at the end of this year and be like, I'm healthier than I was the year before. I'm not like deteriorating or going downhill, even more so. Um, so that's big. In general, my girlfriend and I will have a lot of stuff we want to work on, and in general, like better improving my like standard of living. Getting a better job, a job I enjoy, things like that.
Mm.
And I've said this a couple of years, I believe, as well, as I want to diversify more the activities that I do. I spend more time outdoors and even get into like writing again, writing things or doing different activities than just watching things or just playing games. Um, I always have that creative side of like making videos, but dabbling in other stuff, do more reading, do more writing, stuff like that. I don't know, just I think it helps to reframe things like that going into a new year.
Yeah, I think for me, you mentioned that sort of creative side. My creative side, obviously, we have some of that fleshed out here to a degree, which I like. But my other thing too is something that I want to work on is my campaign setting, my D&D campaign setting that I've been trying to work on. Granted, it's not mine. It's because it's Golden Sun, so it's not mine. It's not my own IP. It's not my IP. It's Nintendo. It's Camelot. But
Mm-hmm.
that's like a setting. That's something that I've wanted to work on and flesh out, like build out a magic system, like all that sort of stuff. Like really reframe the way that's kind of the thing that's been sort of stopping me is because the way spells work in D&D is very different from how magic works in Golden Sun, and that's always been kind of a sticking point to me in terms of like trying to actually implement it and make it work. So I still have to kind of maybe figure that out, but at the same time, that's like a creative outlet for me that when I was doing some of my early works on it, I was having so much fun that it was just like flexing that side of the brain was just really enjoyable to me, and that's some of the fun that I get out of D&D is that imagination. And so being able to sort of have that fun with tabletop RPGs, that's definitely what I want to continue doing more of into the rest of the year for sure. So yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I didn't bring this up or I didn't even think of it until now, but I'll just ask you if you do have any specific or general things you would like goals for the channel this year. Anything in mind?
Not really. I mean, I hope.
Let's say, like, you can say like goal. It doesn't have to be like do like maybe you just have a specific little thing you like to do, like a series that you secretly would like.
Yeah, maybe not a series. I want to get other people on the channel as well. I want to get more guests.
You want to make it a whole like crew of 6 people, is what you're saying. It will rotate.
Yeah, do like the Spawn cast where they have like 9 people on a call to talk about game news. Mm-hmm. It's like no, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. No, I just want more guests in general. Right. Our crew, our Otaku Brothers crew plus Lauren, it's a great crew. I'd like to have Lauren on by herself. I'd like to have some of my IRL friends on. They've expressed interest in coming on for years now. I don't think any of them really watch the channel.
Sons of
but
bitches.
I mean, I would. They watch some of the stuff. I know some of them watch like specific videos and things. So, yeah. I mean, I'd like more of them on for sure. And then, I mean, even more, community members if we can. I want to talk to Trevor about his arcade setup that he has going on. He found found like some random arcade game, and then all of a sudden, like 2 years later, he has like an entire arcade in his garage. Mm-hmm. He has like 10 games or whatever, and I was like, dang, it's a great collection too. It's like some really great games in there. So
yeah,
Idaho, nice. Man, I don't know.
It would be nice to have more Jeffs.
Jeffs, yeah, I'd like Jeffs. Jeff's my brother Jeff. We can get him on.
The thing with guests, the reason it doesn't have it as often is usually, well, obviously it's a lot easier to schedule around 2 people. We have our set time and that's it. But in general, well, every now and then, we've only ever had Rusty as the guest of reviews. We'll do that every now and then.
Yeah.
And then we'll do box art battles. We have a different guest each episode of that. So then it's always like a matter of sometimes like the Gents Challenge videos, we would have guests a couple times. And that's how we got Tiger in there. And then we tied that in with the IGN Top 100 video. So that was cool. But having stuff more suited to that guest would be cool. And now we have this podcast. So you mentioned before that's an option of getting more people on too.
I was thinking I would like to get Pete back on at some point. Would be cool. I mean, Pipe Dream, I'd love to get Johnny on. That would be awesome.
I'm just going to put it out there. I want Jackie Chan.
I would just... I just want Ken Watanabe on this channel.
Pipe
Dreams. We're talking Pipe Dreams. Ken Watanabe, come on the channel.
Can you imagine it just somehow had... Like, the one connection I have is like just Jackie Chan.
You just have Jackie Chan in your back pocket.
He's in the next episode. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Come on, Jackie Chan. It's video game box art. You can't get into this? Just break it down with us.
I don't know.
Anything else? Okay, so for me, I brought this up before, but I think it would be cool to do a book club thing, like where we both...
Right, yeah.
We pick a book and we both like watch a chapter for like a certain amount of chapters per period of time or whatever, and just like check
discuss
in
it week.
So often.
Yeah, like discuss it week to week or what have you. Yeah,
week to week. Yeah, and then it could amalgamate like a movie series or like our reaction series and have like a review at the end. I don't know. I think that would be cool. It'd be I don't know what
it might
books
be interesting
to choose, but I think it would be cool to get into that.
We'd have to go through like maybe like a list of classics or something that we haven't read.
Oh, you're talking Romeo and Juliet.
No, that's a play, but that wasn't what I was thinking of because I've also read that.
Oh, you're talking
I
about
mean,
Baker.
plays wouldn't be off the book,
The
outside the book
playbook.
or outside the
Playbill.
box. It might be in the playbook. It fits the bill.
God.
And is um, yeah, I don't know. We have to play that by ear, I guess. But
And like
no, I
what?
was thinking
Yeah. You're thinking like what?
like this is like what's a classic I haven't read? I don't know. Tale of Two Cities. I've never read that.
You're talking about Charles
Um,
Dickens. You want us to get in
yeah,
on Charles Dickens?
I've never read
How are
that.
you trying to get the
I've
Dickens?
never read. What's another one I haven't read?
I did read A Tale of Two Cities. That was for like an honors English class in middle school. We had to read that over the summer. That was how they made
English
you
literature.
immediately like turned off from the class, as they would assign you to read a book over the summer, and they were just like,
Didn't
oh
you hate?
god.
Just I never had to do that. That's not what sounded awful to me. I was like, why would you do that to someone?
Yeah. And then of course it's A
Um,
Tale of Two Cities, so it's like no one wants to get in on that. But I don't even
so
remember
you
if it's.
must have
Well, I was young.
you
I don't remember if it was actually good or not.
see.
But
I remember that was my perspective on because I remember reading Our Town and I hated Our Town. And I also hated My Antonia. Those are two books that I think Our Town's a play, and we had to read those like back to back, and I remember hating both of them. But my brother told me that he read Our Town again very recently, and he said it was like amazing. So I feel
mhm.
like I need to reread that because I feel like I would probably have a much better perspective on it now. But My Antonia, I don't really want to ever read that again. So I think we'll we'll call it on that one. But just trying to think if there's any other like
Well,
boom. There's a book that you
that's
should
yeah,
read.
that's just something I always had in mind. I thought it'd be cool.
It's a neat idea. It's neat.
Um, and I've had a few movie series ideas that I would like
Oh yeah,
to
right.
do. Not to throw them all out there, but the obvious one has been Harry Potter that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
The big one, like the big movie series that we have that we definitely need to get to at some point, or Harry Potter, or The Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
Lord
the
of the
two
Rings is
biggest
another big
ones.
one. Yeah.
Um, I have my personal little things that I want to pull for too, but those will come up at some point, I'm sure. I think it would be cool. We always like to do more chance time. We just spun the wheel last time, or right
Hmm.
before we did this video. Um,
Yeah.
I'd like to do them more often. I think maybe there's room to do something like chance time, but with just take a list of Disney classics or something and put them all on the wheel, and then
That
do
was
something like
actually,
that.
funnily enough, when we before we got on the call, that was actually something I was thinking about. It'd be like, it'd be interesting to do like a specific. We've done themed chance. We did a themed chance time, which is where we got Alien Origin, much to our chagrin.
Yeah,
But I was thinking of some other themed chance times, which might be fun to do at some point. So
because like
yeah,
take a list of like Disney classics. That's not something you can do through the randomizer that I use, but
decoms.
we'd have to take a list.
D we do a decoms list. We could do
Do that
that, or
too.
then Alien classics. We could do for just that's just Disney. That's just doing for Disney. We could also do stuff like comedy specials. We were talking about that. We could do a chance time of just comedy
Oh God.
specials. That could be wild. That could be crazy. We go crazy on that one.
But I like the variety that we had going on. I do like that. We need to do more Tarqaron Mad Libs. We keep pushing it off for other things.
Yep.
Like it just had to
We
be pushed back, but
yep.
I'm gonna do that
It
more.
happens. Yeah, it happens.
And we have our ongoing things. We have Mind Crushers, which we still have like 20 more episodes to do because there's so many damn cards. More things like the Tarqaron Hangman, fun stuff like that. Be cool.
Yeah.
But anything else?
Box art battles, baby.
Boxstar Battles. Yeah, it's like Boxstar Battles literally ends up being one or two a year. It seems
Yeah.
it's like crazy how much time goes between each episode.
Yeah, we need to. Especially it's one of our favorites. One of my favorites. I love it.
Yeah,
I love talking about box arts. So
it is. It is a lot of fun.
I feel like that would be a fun one to have like one of my real life friends on to just vibe and do that. So
Sonic Frontiers needs to happen.
yeah, that needs to happen.
I'd
I
say
have it.
after the Gents Challenge is what I would propose. Maybe like right after the Gents Challenge, we give ourselves like a month for Sonic Frontiers.
So towards the end of April. That's actually probably a really good time compared to all the big boys that are coming out right after that. So yeah.
I mean, I just always have ideas. There's a lot of stuff we can always toss around. Think about Survivor. Always excited to do more Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when we're done this season or between seasons, we can always do the funny 115 too. So.
Oh yeah, always. Yeah, that keeping that alive. So,
yeah.
Speaking of Survivor, we are sort of wrapping up here, but I know that I've been telling Zach off camera. My parents have started watching Survivor because around Christmas I went over and I was like, hey, let's watch some Survivor. Let's just show them. So we started watching the Amazon, and they were kind of getting into it. And then I was like, all right. And it's been a couple weeks since I'd been over there. I was planning on visiting a little bit more frequently. That's just something I haven't been able to get to go do. That's actually one of the goals I have this year too. Visit my parents more.
Call mom.
And then call mom. And then I found out when I came home. My mom says something like, "Oh yeah, well we finished Amazon," and I was like, well, they told me through a phone call. It was like, "Oh, your Paramount Plus wasn't working because we were trying to watch Survivor because we're on the finale of Amazon." And I was like, "Wait, what? You started watching it without me?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we can't wait," and we were excited about it. So I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then when I went and visited this past weekend, Mom was like, "Oh yeah," I asked like, "Oh, so did you guys finish that?" And they're like, "Yeah, we finished it." And then I was like, "Well, Rob Sesternino is like one of my all-time favorite Survivor players." And then she was like, "Oh yeah, and we also we really like Rupert." And I was like, "Rupert was in Pearl Islands, so that means you watched all of Pearl Islands after that?" They're like, "Yeah, we just let it keep going." And then and I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." And then they had gone back and they were like almost done the Survivor Borneo. Like when I watched that with them. So I watched the end of Borneo, which was fun. Like the last 5 episodes of that with them, which was fun. And we went right into Outback. They're probably almost done that now. Probably
Yeah,
at this point.
I told you, I'm like, you need to.
I gotta curb this dragon here. It's just like slow your roll, mom and dad.
Either tell
you
them to
guys are
slow
going to
the
be like,
roll or cut them off. You just have to do it.
Just cut them off. Just like, no, you can't use Paramount Plus. You can't use Paramount Plus without me there. Yeah. So I mean, it was nice. It was nice getting able to watch some of those episodes again. Like, wow, yeah, okay, cool. It's not remembering some certain things that happened exactly in the order they happened in with like Borneo and that was kind of fun and yeah. So they've been enjoying that. I'm just hoping I can save them from having to watch through Thailand. So
you're gonna stop them.
you just gotta stop them.
Stop it.
Like you watch Africa. Africa's fun enough season, but
just maybe the Thailand will get them to stop.
Thailand will be like, all right,
episode 3.
We've had enough of this show. I am 150 to 200%
satisfied with the wife that I have.
Yeah, that's right. Good job,
they're gonna zoom through Thailand and be like, "We love Brian. We love Brian.
We love
Clay Jordan.
We love Clay Jordan. What a hero!"
But I'm always excited because we have these staples of Tarqaron we've talked about, like the Tarqaron cards, which we just did recently, Tarqaron All Stars, things like that. And it's like each year is kind of defined. You can remember it was like a different era of Survivor that we watched too, because like the past year was like Guatemala and a bit of Palau and now this year is Panama, and then the next season will likely be those two primarily.
They give you big defining features of the year for sure. And the year previous to that was Pearl Islands and All Stars started together there. So,
and I personally like going back and watching some of the. I'll just go back and watch a random reaction to an episode sometimes, or look at specific ones, and it's fun. It's fun to look back on. Just have them all up there, immortalized. But yeah, in the future for the podcast, we're definitely gonna have like a little part of the episode where we'll talk about like the past month of videos, kind of reflect a little bit. So I think it's cool to look back on. For the introductory episode, we're not gonna do that so much because we could just reflect on all of it.
Yeah, we're just kind of free-forming, like what's in the year ahead. Talk about games. Let's talk about movies.
Yeah.
Doesn't really fit in an episode, so let's just podcast. Let's just ramble,
and we'll figure it out as we go. Like one episode, I might come with something prepared to like, we'll spring this on Alec, or he might bring something for me. Or we'll talk about more like new stuff coming out, or news we heard about specific things, or maybe stuff relevant to things we've reviewed or talked about already. You know, that would be cool, and we kind of have the freedom to work with and build it into what we want it to be in the future. So
yeah, wow.
So join us for the journey, all right?
Yeah, look forward to that. One thing before we go, also you'd mentioned was potentially having people questions.
Yes, go.
One of the things we
go below. Comment any question you have for us, anything at all.
Anything can be anything.
We reserve the right to refuse to answer, but I'm pretty open. Yeah. Just it could be relevant to things we've talked about. It could be about Survivor. It could be about life. You know, the questions of life. You know, because I'm not necessarily a lot of the stuff we talk about is pop culture, video games, television, film, but I'm not afraid to get into some deeper topics as well, and I might even bring them up in future episodes. You know,
sure,
like really get into some philosophical discussions, and get intimate, you know?
Yeah.
But
let's do it.
So the idea is that it's a monthly podcast, so you can always comment below. You can comment now, you can come back in 3 weeks and comment. Basically, just know you have 4 weeks to do so, or a little under that, you know? And like, once the new one comes out, just comment on the new one, because that's what we'll be paying attention to for questions in the next month, and so on and so forth. It'll be cool. Get into some random discussions, whatever you want us to talk about. All right.
Be good. Look forward to it, for sure.
Anyway, that's it. That's it for the first episode of the Tarqaron podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find this on the podcast feed that we have. This is, I would say, just as good on that. I mean, you don't get to see our faces if you hate our faces. You don't like staring at us, just talking around. I mean, podcast feed works just perfect for if you're on the go. This is exactly one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. We have a lot of our stuff on the podcast feed as well, of our other material, but this one is like, we got a video, we got a podcast. It's a podcast, so you can do whatever you like.
Yeah. So subscribe to us here on the channel, subscribe to us on the podcast feed, and enjoy it however you like. Like, I thought about some maybe visual components, like if you were talking about an article or something, I could bring it up, but I'm like, maybe I'll just keep it low effort for now, for my sake.
We
make it simple.
Yeah, we don't need to do anything too high production values or anything like that. It's like just basic, kind of back to basics. I mean, we don't really do anything overly outside the box a lot of the time anyway, but it is a little bit more restrained, a little bit more laid back, kind of like back to our roots in a way.
Back to our roots. We really lost sight of ourselves over the years.
We lost sight of ourselves. Really lost sight of the roots that you.
Did we even mention?
Had,
Did we mention our prior podcasting stuff?
I feel like we have in the past, but
in the past,
maybe that could be That could be something we maybe go into in a future episode.
But it's been years since we've done a podcast. But our YouTube channel is very much in that kind of format anyway. It's just more specific things.
Right.
Yeah, but like it's been almost a decade now since we've had a podcast proper, and that was like video game podcast specifically. But that's how we really met or got to know each other was through doing that. So
kind of crazy, full circle in a way, you know.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. So that was episode 1. Thank you for watching or listening, however you'd like. All right. Subscribe to us on the channel, on the podcast feed. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video, leave a comment. Even if you're listening as a podcast, come back whenever you want if you want to leave a question for the next episode. All right.
Yeah.
Or any feedback at all. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Ratings, do all that sort of stuff, you know.
Rate us.
You know, rate us.
Rate us out of 10. And one of my New Year's goals will be to be a higher rating next year.
It's not, you know, that's not a bad goal. It's not a bad goal, you know.
Not bad.
Make yourself more presentable. That's totally fair.
All right. Anyway, take care.
Yeah, take care. See you next time.
Until next time.
Until we meet again. Is this going to be our...
Till next time.
Till next
I love you.
Namaste.
I don't know. Fuck off.